but not in the toilet.
Yeah. So, I don't know how to do splits.
I got
so you do it. Okay, so go ahead.
We'll start today with a little bit of a story. I started dancing when I was 3. I was put into competitive gymnastics when I was 5. I danced professionally all the way up till I was 24. I've had plantar fasciitis. I was seeing a chiropractor since I was 13. I don't see one anymore. I had some back issues, and this all took a real toll on me in my dance career. But I was always told a couple of things in all of my dance classes. My ribs were sticking out, I wasn't breathing, my alignment sucked, tuck in your core, fix your tailbone, you're not on top of your sit bones, things like this. And it was always just like a in, out, trying to figure out the pieces to my body, but I didn't know. Keep this in mind. When I would get into my jumping section of class, 3 hours in, I always had to go to the bathroom. And I loved this section. I was good at it. I jumped really high. But I just thought every single day, Monday to Friday, at this time, it was like my bathroom hour, gotta go, had this sudden urgency, and I was running. I'd come back, finish out class, and just think I was training my body to go to the bathroom at this time every day. Not exactly the case, and I'll come back to that why.
Okay, and so I don't have the same story because I was not that talented as a child. I was in gymnastics and ballet, but for very short periods of time. They actually wouldn't progress me because I couldn't do a split, which is really sad, which I can do one now actually, but I could not do a split back then. So anyway, but Marissa and I were talking about like stories of incontinence and stuff like that. I was like, the only thing I can really tell you is not my story, but this is Judy Geiger, where are you? You probably were with me. We were at a tri-fit competition, and it was in St. Pete, and there was a girl that was doing box jumps, and at like probably number 4, she started peeing, and I mean like peeing, and I'm thinking she's not stopping, she's just going, and I'm thinking she's gonna slip on that box, but it made an impression on me because I'm watching her jump. She's going to the bathroom, and then she was so excited when she finished 50 that she jumped and straddled Al Rosen and said, "That is for making me do box jumps." and she straddled him because she had pee running down her legs, and we were all like, "Oh my gosh, that's so disgusting," but whatever. But it made an impression on me because now when I train my girls to do box jumps for tri-fit, because we do have a team a lot of years that we'll have 17, 18 girls that train to do tri-fitness, and I don't train them to jump the box. They can if they want to, but a lot of times they run it faster than they can jump it. And the reason that I don't make them jump the box is because it goes bam, 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 pelvic floor. Okay, so when I tell them, when we come in here, we start training, I'm like, you can jump it, but we're gonna be practicing this a lot. And the more pounding that we're doing on that pelvic floor, the weaker it's going to get. So that's why I train them. And a lot of times you'll see the girls that come with my team for tri-fit is they don't jump the box very much.
Yeah. And some prime examples of seeing this are, we have French gymnast springs a leak, ooh la la, in a magazine. This is a headline here that we're just normalizing the fact that she's just leaking, and she's at her competition. I don't think this is exactly what she wants to be doing in the middle of her competition.
She's doing a backflip, and she's peeing while she's doing a backflip, and they captured that for the magazine.
And just say French gymnast springs a leak. Let's just talk about she's just peeing. And then we have someone who's you got out of there.
How do I do it?
Maybe unplug this. Okay, there you go. We have someone who's at a powerlifting competition, probably doing a deadlift, stands up, exhales, inhales, and out comes the pee. Don't think she wants to do that in front of everyone either. And then we just have a group of women in a fitness class who could just be at T-Fit and could be at your own studio. And they might be experiencing the same thing. We're just not visually seeing it to the same extent as these other power athletes. The athletes that get hit the most with this are gymnasts, tennis players, and trampolinists. So high impact sports, a lot of running, a lot of jumping. Now, is this okay is really the question. No, peeing your pants is not normal. Unless you're a baby in a diaper, that's really the only time that peeing your pants is okay.
It's common.
But
it's not normal.
But it's not normal. And we shouldn't have to deal with this, and we shouldn't be putting things out there that normalize it.
Like
but
this.
Instead, we can just go to the store and get Depends, or how about a reusable pee pad?
Oh, yeah.
It's organic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we can have the new modern way and get some pants at home, put them on, and have a little device to train our pelvic floor. Or my favorite, Kegel Smart, a personal trainer for the pelvic floor. So we'll just stick it up there and sit down and hope it works and we won't pee anymore. But this is also pretty bad. You can Kegel your day away, but a certain amount of bladder leakage during deadlifts may just be your workout destiny. Stock up on some black leggings and Icon pee-proof underwear made by Thanks, the revolutionary period panties brand, and embrace some of the less glamorous parts of getting fit. From yours truly at Shape Magazine.
Yeah, they actually posted that. So they're basically saying, there's nothing you can do about this. So go ahead and get the things to stop it and don't pee in front of everybody.
Yeah, and so what we're talking about is called stress urinary incontinence. Incontinence can come in many different forms, but the one we are specifically talking about is stress urinary incontinence, which can happen with laughing, coughing, sneezing. Doesn't just have to be high athletic moments.
They're not going to be able to see this. We'll have to email this if you guys want to see the different parts. But before we even talk about those body parts,
we'll show you those body parts. So really the reason that stress urinary incontinence happens is because of a weak pelvic floor. You can have two different types of pelvic floor. You can have an overactive pelvic floor where the muscles are really tight, and not a lot of people talk about this, and this is not what we're talking about today, but we're talking about a weaker pelvic floor where the muscles are overstretched and can't actually do their job of supporting the organs.
So what we're going to do is we're going to see who knows their pelvic floor muscles and body parts. So you didn't know you get an anatomy lesson today, but you do. And you get to win a prize if you get it right. So I'm just going to pick out some parts and see if you know what this is. Yes, take lots of pictures. We're picking out your body parts. Does anybody know what this is?
What is it?
Is that the bladder?
Yeah, bingo.
Bingo, she gets a prize. Give her a hat and a thing. And one of those pink things. Okay.
Good job, bladder.
Good job. So the bladder, all right. There you go.
And can you open the bladder on this one? I think you can. And you can actually open this bladder. So here's a little visualization of what is holding your pee.
A little tiny little cup. Little tiny cup.
Your little cup.
All right. And then back here, what would this be? She said uterus. Nope. Can you see it? What do you think that is?
Oh no, that's your oh God.
What is
Your anatomy.
Where does it sit in the?
That's like the ileocecal, but
Hard to see. Hold on. Let me take out one. Let me take out a body part to put this where it goes.
One, yeah.
Can you see where it goes?
It's the ileocecal valve, the bottom part of it is. Like part of
What is this whole
the intestinal colon.
Try again. Try
Try
again.
again. Yes! This is your rectum.
Not your ovary.
rectum. So this has a nice little hole at the bottom to show you where it goes. Show us where it comes out. Okay. All right.
Now what do we have?
Here we go here. We can start quickly.
Yeah.
Okay,
What else? What other parts you got in there?
Yeah.
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 There we go.
Who said the ovaries?
Here.
There you go. So here you have your
Getting
ovaries.
Nice. So your pelvic floor is responsible for holding all of that.
So this is the pelvic floor muscles underneath all of those things. So your bladder sits on top of those, your rectum sits on top of those, your ovaries sit on top of those.
And when exactly. And sometimes when we're talking about incontinence as well, as you saw, the rectum is involved there. It doesn't always have to be peeing incontinence. You could have the number 2 incontinence as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's happening to any of you, you can link that right in here. And
Yeah.
yeah.
My mom.
Yeah. And it says,
Older.
and the thing is that even as an older person, they can still do things to help correct it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. You don't have to be 30, 40, 50 to start working on it. They have started in nursing homes because there are women. The course called Female Chain Reaction with the Gray Institute that this is based on. The woman who designed it, Christy,
Mm-hmm.
she works in nursing homes, and many of the women that are in the nursing homes are there because their caregivers could not continue taking them to the bathroom and changing them. And so what she does is she goes in there and she can actually help these women fix this problem that put them in the nursing home and correct it and improve their quality of life because of that.
And that's actually the number 1 reason that most people send their loved one to a nursing home is because they can't deal with their incontinence issues. And females will spend around $58,000 a year who deal in a lifetime who deal with this issue as well, fixing their pelvic floor, not really getting fixed. And here's a nice visualization of you can see the pelvic floor that's supporting the bladder, the uterus, the bowel, and then you have your spine sitting in back there. I like to think about the pelvic floor, and you can see it here as like a hammock. So if you had a hammock on 2 trees in your backyard and you're laying in that hammock, you want that hammock to support you. It's the same thing here. You have 2 layers of your pelvic floor hammocking all those organs, and you want that to support you as well. But it's not just responsible for holding in your organs and just doing that one little part. Like Leslie talked about yesterday, she talked a lot about your front core. And when we're talking about pelvic floor, we're really talking about pelvic core, which is all your front, your side, and your back. And if you caught it yesterday, I don't know if you did, Leslie said, it's connected to your glutes. And she said, do you feel your glutes? Same thing here. It is connected to your glutes, pelvic floor. It's pretty much all this up to right underneath our rib cage. So a big part of the pelvic floor functioning on its real function is the diaphragm. So if we're using our diaphragm, we're using our pelvic floor. If we're using our pelvic floor, we're using our diaphragm, and vice versa. So if you've heard of diaphragmatic breathing, this would be a good way to start to tap into that pelvic floor. And you can see there's like this nice big connection here. And here's your transverse abdominis. If we're not using that diaphragm to breathe and you're trying to get abs, let's just throw that goal out the window, because we can't necessarily tap into that muscle. You can't isolate anything. As you saw yesterday, the fascia, it stretches, the muscles, they stretch. They're all connected. Everything is linked together.
And which is why, so I've done pre and postnatal training since I got pregnant. When I was 2005, when I had Brianna, I went through my very first prenatal training course because I wanted to see exactly what I was experiencing, what was going on, different things that I needed to train myself. And it's really been valuable to my clients right after they have a baby. You can start working on this immediately. So that whole wait 6 to 8 weeks after you have a baby before you start training again is garbage, because you can start working on diaphragmatic breathing and strengthening that pelvic core as soon as you have that baby. So when someone has a baby, I don't make them wait 6 to 8 weeks to come in. We can work on diaphragmatic breathing and different techniques that we're going to show you today right away.
Yeah. And actually in many countries, right after women have a baby, and you don't necessarily only have to have a baby to have urinary incontinence, it's just more common at that point, they go straight to their physical therapist, and they get paid to go to physical therapy and take time off of work and actually work on this issue so it doesn't become an issue in the long run. It's not necessarily the case here in the US, but we wish it was. So what does incontinence versus normal bladder function look like?
So incontinence, there's 3 types of incontinence. There's stress incontinence, urge incontinence, or mixed. Stress urinary incontinence is urinary leakage that occurs with an increase of intra-abdominal pressure, such as coughing, sneezing, laughing, running, jumping, box jumping. Position change. You could be sitting and get up very quickly and then leak a little bit. That happens. This is not normal, not even a little bit. Normally, the sphincter muscles around the urethra compensate for the extra pressure by tightening up, but urine can leak out if they can't squeeze tight enough. That can also happen if the muscles of the pelvic floor are lax. The pelvic floor is made of muscles and ligaments that extend like a hammock, like she said, from the pubic bone in the front of the abdomen to the tailbone in the back. If it's slack, the urethra doesn't have anything to be compressed against as the bladder is pushed down.
Exactly. And so normal bladder function, what that would look like would be emptying your bladder every 2 to 4 hours during the day. And I want to stop and pause on this one for a second. We talked about this as Teresa's a mother. My mother still does this to me to this day. Anytime we're leaving somewhere or going in the car, Marissa, did you go to the bathroom? Do you have to go to the bathroom?
I said it yesterday. Before we leave, do you guys have to go to the bathroom? It's just a normal thing to say.
It just becomes a thing I guess mothers do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet. And it actually can be a little bit of a downfall because we're forcing people to go to the bathroom when they don't necessarily have to. Just to get out that little bit is just kind of increasing the problem down the road because we're not training our muscles to actually support it. So waking up to empty the bladder 0 to 1 times during sleep, that would be normal. A normal sense of urgency, not that feeling like I was having in dance class where like, oh crap, I gotta go now, run. We don't want that. And emptying 1 to 2 cups of urine is a healthy bladder, and we can hold about 2 cups. So filling that little bladder that we showed you, which would be actually holding 2 cups of urine, which is a lot for that little organ. So what do? We're not doing the depends. We're not wearing the pads. We're not gonna use just a Kegel. We're going to take you guys through some movement, switch slide, because here's a study, Messelink et al. Out of Northwestern University, saying the function of the pelvic floor muscles is performed by contraction and relaxation, both symmetrically and asymmetrically. The function of the pelvic floor is to support the pelvic organs, which you saw, and provide foundational support for human movement, which is amazing because right here it says, the pelvic floor is to support human movement. You saw or heard from me and my corrections as I was getting as a dancer, pull your ribs in, breathe, you're not aligned. That's saying that my human movement was not very good. And really looking back, it's because of my pelvic floor. So all of that was really linked together right there. And another part here that we're saying is contraction and relaxation, so like your bicep curl, so contracting, relaxing, both symmetrically and asymmetrically. And so you're doing a lot of this training. You did it yesterday, kind of like when we're stepping forward and we're changing that dynamic, that positioning. That would be making an asymmetrical load on our pelvic floor. So we can be lengthening one aspect of our pelvic floor, like my right foot's forward, my left foot's back, and then we can be increasing tension on the pelvic floor in another area. So it doesn't all have to just work as squeeze, release, which is a Kegel.
Yes, which is one thing that really stuck out to me in the course when I first took it was, if you want to strengthen your bicep, do you just walk around holding a weight up and contracting it the whole time and go, that's how I'm going to strengthen my bicep? Or do you do a contraction and extension? Do you do that? So this would be strengthening the bicep, correct? In all different ways, because you have how many connections of your bicep? You have 3 connections and you have 2 muscles. So if you were to only curl it one way and not curl it the other ways in different grips, you're not going to effectively and efficiently strengthen that bicep muscle, which is why you don't just want to go Kegel, hold.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. Actually, we'll do a little tricep change up too in my class today. So you'll get a feeling for that. But before we get there, we're going to work on your pelvic floors with the ball, with the Leslie Bender ball. And we'll start you guys. Oh, and
That's it. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, we don't. We want to get you guys all nice and strong and moving.
Yeah.
And we'll take you through some breathing first. So let's go ahead and lie on your backs. And then keep your ball nearby. Breathing.
You keep breathing.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So keep your ball close to you. If you guys can scoot in here, you're fine. You got plenty of room.
Okay, you can have your ball close. Your legs can be flat. Your knees can be bent. You really have an option here. But I'd like you to take your hands and then just put them like right on top of your pelvic floor. So right nice and low. Close your eyes. Good. Kind of get relaxed. Okay. We do a lot of chest breathing when we're really stressed. And so we want to try to relax our chest. Inhaling through our nose. Nice big inhale. Good. Exhale. I'll let you guys keep breathing, but I'm just going to point out some cues that I want you to be aware of. Can you feel your rib cage expand forward, back, and side as you take your inhale? And as you exhale, can you pull that rib cage in towards each other? And as you have your hands on your pelvic floor, when you inhale, pelvic floor drops and stretches. As you exhale, the pelvic floor actually comes up and in and tightens. Good. So keep that breathing going. If you're feeling any chest breathing, try to let go of that and maybe put your hands around your rib cage so you can feel your rib cage inhale rather than your chest inhale.
I can't breathe because of the mask.
Slide it down. Slide it down.
Yeah. Good. Now, as you inhale, think about that pelvic floor muscle expanding. You saw a lot of visuals of it. As you exhale, you're going to think about kind of squeezing in like you're pulling your pee in, holding your pee, right? So on that exhale, pulling in from down below. Or as my sister-in-law taught me, you can think about sucking up a blueberry there.
There you go. Thanks, Melissa.
Exactly. So good. Okay. Keep that breathing. Don't really see a lot of chest breathing, which is great and nice. And we're going to go ahead and start to keep that breath as we work into some bridging series.
Yeah. So go ahead and now that you're nice and relaxed, grab your ball.
Grab your ball.
Put it right between your knees.
And bend your legs, feet on the ground.
Everybody got one? All right. So right here, you can focus on that breathing also. One thing that I like to do is I have people put one hand on their chest and one hand on their stomach. And if they feel that the one that's on their chest is rising, they need to kind of just refocus, because sometimes you start to do that breathing and then you feel like you're almost hyperventilating a little bit because you're not doing it. All of a sudden that, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes you just have to kind of go, okay, stop and refocus. I'm super ADD, so I have to refocus a lot. So right here, I want you to just go ahead and squeeze that ball. And as you're squeezing that ball, think of those pelvic floor muscles engaging and then release it. And just give me like 5 squeezes. You're still breathing while you're doing this. So at your 5th squeeze, hold it. And now think about what your feet are doing. So your feet are parallel. So can you go ahead and make sure that they're parallel? So if you have one that's forward and one that's back, go ahead and, yeah, there you go. All right, so now think about vertebrae by vertebrae, articulating through your spine, lifting from the tailbone all the way up. So bridge all the way up and kind of hold it. So right there, again, with your breathing, go ahead and give me another 5 squeezes. Squeeze, release, breathe. So now hold that squeeze and now take your toes and kind of turn them in toward each other. Remember what we talked about is internal hip rotation. So now we're doing that. Go ahead and squeeze, release 5 times.
And try to link your squeeze with a little exhale.
And after your 5th one, go ahead and turn your toes out. So now we're doing that external hip rotation. Nice. And after your 5th one, you're going to go ahead and make those feet neutral again, but take one foot just a couple inches forward in front and give me another 5 squeezes. One thing I notice when I'm training people is that sometimes the hip starts to drop. So make sure that those hips are parallel to the ceiling. You don't have one that's dropping lower than the other. And after your 5th one, switch your feet. If you need to rest and come back up, you can. And squeeze for 5. And then you're going to go ahead and take it parallel and roll it right back down. So what we just did was we just took you into internal hip rotation, external hip rotation. We did a little bit of a staggered stance with it, and then we did parallel. You can do that internal, external rotation with your feet staggered. You can do it with it, you know, how we had 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. You can do them turned in, turned out in all those directions. Did you want to add anything to that, Nicole?
Yeah, so you focused a lot on the squeeze, and as we mentioned, this is for a weaker pelvic floor. If you have an overactive pelvic floor, we probably don't want to work on the squeeze as much. You'd want to work on the pull out. And you'll see in a lot of classes, it's always squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. But one of my best friends who's a fit pro has an overactive pelvic floor, worked on her squeeze for so long, she's getting injections every single week into her pelvic floor to loosen it up.
Explain what overactive means.
Yeah, so an overactive pelvic floor, so if we're talking about a weakened pelvic floor, it's really stretched, right?
That's where you get the incontinence, right?
Correct. And then an overactive pelvic floor would be one that's really tight. So like, you know, when you have like a really tight bicep or something that's really tight in your body and you're foam rolling it all the time, it's kind of that same thing. You can actually, once it's overactive, you would wind up like having to have a massage therapist go in there and actually loosen up your muscles.
So with that,
I've done it. It's horrible.
Yeah, and I've heard it's horrible.
It's
Yeah.
horrendous.
And how did you realize that you had an overactive pelvic floor? If you don't mind sharing.
I had a cervical cancer and I had a hysterectomy and it messed up all my parts and I was really like I couldn't leave my house.
Wow.
Like because I couldn't be away from the bathroom, which is why I was not participating in the exercises because everybody says strengthen, strengthen, strengthen. I went to a pelvic floor therapist and she's like, stop everything that you're doing right now, and it's like trigger points. So if you ever thought of a trigger point in your muscle, well, you have it inside your vagina as well, and it's incredibly painful and awkward and very expensive.
Yes.
We have
I've
enough
heard.
bands. We have enough bands, Marissa, too.
Yeah.
We have enough bands.
Yeah,
for
and
that.
so you would probably want to be someone who's working on pulling a band out rather than pulling in.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And some of the things that I've heard that people experience with an overactive pelvic floor, the suckiest one is really painful sex. Like really painful sex, putting in a tampon hurts, can't do it. Anything else you want to add to that?
That's pretty much
Yeah. So if you're on a spin bike too, heard that feels pretty bad. So anything that you're feeling where there's a lot of pressure down there, that would probably be symptoms of an overactive pelvic floor. Is that good?
yes, thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem. Right, so this is adduction, a squeeze in, adduction, pulling in our adductors, our inner thighs, strengthening inner thighs. Overactive pelvic floor, you'd want to work more on the outside of the legs, outer glute area to open up the pelvic floor.
So a lot of times we'll put these little guys right above your knees and you're pressing out. That would be abduction. If you take my class on Fridays, we do it a lot. That would be one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
There's always a method to the madness.
You want to go through
And I
bridging?
said, yeah, we can go some bridging.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw a band at you.
Grab a band and then let's go through some bridging so you guys can kind of feel the difference here.
Okay. And it doesn't matter what strength
There
you
we go.
have. You're welcome. Give you a strong. Give you a strong.
It feels like you have a strong butt.
I know Jenny's butt.
I know that one anywhere.
I'm not giving you a strong butt. I know Nikki's butt too. There we go.
Right, so like when I had, for example,
Whoops. Actually, no, give me that one. That one's too big. Oh no, that one's okay.
You can't relax it. Do you have any pain?
I'll do that one.
Have you ever seen a pelvic floor specialist or anyone?
Hold on.
I bet it's you now today.
Oh, you don't want one? This is my really heavy one. I was gonna open this one.
Oh, look, brand new.
Okay, brand new one. Look at that. All right, put these right above your knees, you guys. So not below your knees, but right above them, and go ahead and lay back down. And get back into that bridging position. So we did the adduction, so now we're gonna do the adduction. So you can actually push the ball out of the way, and now you've got the band right above your knees. I'll give you a hard one, Amy. She can handle it. This girl has popped out 4 babies. 4 babies. All right, ready? So go ahead and vertebrae by vertebrae bridge back up.
That's a mean band.
It is a mean band. She likes it. hold it right there. And let's go ahead and take it out about 5 times, just out and in. And we're going to do the same exact thing with the feet position. So just out and in, parallel feet. After 5, go ahead and turn those toes in. Focus on that breathing.
Good. And then notice your toes. Make sure they're turned in.
Yeah, calm down a little bit, you guys. You're going a little fast.
Yeah.
Slow this down a little bit. And then turn your toes out.
We're waiting for the minute timer.
That's true. They're used to the ding. And then give me that parallel. And then give me the staggered stance. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. 5. And then slide it back the other way for 5. And then go back to your neutral stance for 5.
Good. And when your knees come back in, don't let them touch each other. Make sure you come back to a parallel. Otherwise, then we're just working that in. Push again.
Yeah, and that's just a taste of the bridge series that you can work your pelvic floor. And I do this a lot of times with my new moms too. Right after they have a baby, they can do this type of a workout right away.
Yeah. Plank it.
Plank it.
Okay. And then let's go ahead. Let's keep your band on. We'll go band and then we'll go ball and then we'll stand up. So flip yourselves around so that you're in plank position. You don't have to go into your plank just yet, but go ahead, get on your hands and your knees. Make sure you guys have enough space between you. You did this actually yesterday in Tabata. We're just going to make it a little bit bigger. Your legs are going to be spread wide, so you have constant tension on that band. Your hips are going to go up to the ceiling, kind of like a down dog, and then drop your hips down even further from your plank. Just don't get into your low back. So we don't want to go all the way hips to the ground, just a little bit. So yeah, Teresa takes her hips up, and then she's going to come past the point of the plank where you feel your hip flexors stretch. Okay, so let's go ahead, take 5 there. Legs pull apart. You feel some tension on the outer side of the band, and we're still breathing. Inhale up, exhale down. Good. Nice, you guys. Good. Let's take 1 more there, then we'll stay in our plank. Good. Now back, hips up at your plank height. Take your hips side to side. So shift them side to side. No rotation though. So you're shifting, think about going into your right arm and into your left arm. Good. That's right. Let's go for 3. Let's go for 2. Let's go for 1 more. Now let's add rotation. Right hip drops down, left hip drops down. This will be her last one here. You go 5. Good. You go 4. Good. 3. Keep pulling out on your band at the same time. 2 and 1. Relax. Okay. Band off. Let's get the ball. And we do it all again.
All right. So take the band off, put the ball in between your knees. So that's why I did this one in Tabata yesterday. I don't normally do this in my Tabata class, but I did it on purpose. So you would say, oh, we did this yesterday. This is what it feels like when it's got a band on and a ball on. All right, ready?
So ball in between your knees, right above your kneecaps. Yes, good. Keeping the squeeze the whole time. We want to drive the hips up and drive the hips down. So feet will be a little bit closer together. Nice. Hips down and back. Let's go for 3 more. 3. Good. Make sure you lengthen through your hip flexors as you come forward. 2. Nice. 1 more. Stay in your plank. We shifted side to side for 5. Keep that squeeze of your ball. Good. 4. We go for 3. Nice. 2. And 1 more. Let's add that rotation. Last 5. Good. Ball stays between the legs. Last 4.
Oh, yeah.
3.
That's where your obliques are kicking in.
Last 2. And 1. Relax. Okay. Nice. Does that feel better than your regular plank? Yeah. Just holding it. So you guys can actually do this with ball, without bands, and just start to incorporate this in for a difference in your regular plank routine too. Because as you saw yesterday, crunches are not necessarily the full entire picture of it. We got more ways to go. So let's go ahead, stand up. We're going to fully integrate the whole body now. And so we talked a lot about that diaphragm and having that rib cage expansion. You want to be able to mobilize those rib cages. So anytime that you're going into some of that breathing, making sure that we're actually warm in our trunk, so our thoracic spine. spine, which is our mid back, is what we want, because sometimes when we're sitting so much and we're crunched down, we're not able to actually get into this and our rib cage can't expand. So we'll just take you through a little bit. You can drop your balls. A little bit of, drop your balls, of some thoracic spine rotation. So let's just follow along and then we'll go through stability and we're done. Okay, so we're gonna take our left arm across to the right, just reach and rotate and then come right back to center. Good, again, go ahead, take it over across. Let's take 2 more. You're gonna hold your next one over there, stay. Keep that arm there, take your back arm, your right arm, reach it and tip it forward towards the front. And come back up. Good, again. Nice big inhale as you reach, exhale as you come back up. 2 more like that. We should feel, what side are you guys feeling?
Right.
That's right, good. And 1 more. Good, let's go ahead and switch it up. Just taking that right arm, reach it across to the left, rotate as much as we can, back in. Good. Notice your hips are rotating too. If you feel your feet kind of moving on the ground, that's normal. We want that. 2 more. Good, 1 more. Stay. Hold that. Now let's take that back arm, tip it forward, inhale. Good, and come back up. Again, 3 more. Inhale. Think about really opening up through that left side rib cage, creating some space. 1 more. And good. We'll take 1 more here. So we're going to take our right arm back. It's kind of like an L shape. And we're going to reach back and rotate. Good. Come back into center. Again, 3 more. 3. Good. 2. Maybe you're feeling that left hip stretch out. 1 more. We switch. Make your L shape to the other side. Reach it back. Good. There's your core again. 2 more. 1 more. And good. Okay, so every time we mobilize something, we need to stabilize something. Otherwise, we leave looking like Gumby and not feeling great. And then we get into some injuries. So we're going to go through our whole body like Teresa's warm-up. You guys did it yesterday, that forward and back, that side to side, and that rotate. If you don't remember, it's the first thing we did on the beach after yoga. We're going to take it all with a balance. So you can go a little bit slower. Your right foot's going to lead the way. Your right foot's going to kick forward, put all your weight on your left, and then reach your arms down and back. Hover that foot. Good. Again, take it forward, reach up, look up, and down. Good. We're going to go 2 more. Reach it forward.
And you can do a toe touch if you have to.
Exactly. And 1 more. Good. Let's stay on this side. Let's take your right leg over to the right, arms over to the left, and cross it in front, arms to the right. Good. Arm and leg pull away from each other. Arm and leg pull away from each other. 2 more. We should be feeling that left leg kind of working. 1 more. And good. Now we rotate it. So right foot's going to rotate back and then take it in front. You're probably not going to move too much. That's okay. Good. 2 more here. Nice, you guys. 1 more. And good, relax. Other side, let's finish it off. Left leg going forward, reaching those arms up and taking it back. Good, reaching up, feel your core lengthen. Go down, you feel that right butt kind of kick on. Good, whole pelvic core is connected. And arms up over our head, we take it over to the side, to the left and to the right. Good, is your spine still kind of being nice and flexible and moving, rib cage moving with us. Try not to lock it out. 1 more. Same here. Good, and let's go ahead and rotate it. Rotate back, rotate forward. Good, you can always take it to that toe touch, especially here, it gets a little tricky. Good, and 1 more. And relax. Nice job, you guys.
Very good. I think that's about it. That covers it. So we wanted to kind of just get you moving a little bit before we, jumped out. It worked out perfect. I'm so glad we moved Animal Flows a little bit later because we would have been in the mud in the park. So
yeah. Any questions?
I know this is I don't really know how to say it, but does that have anything to do with when your bladder falls?
Pelvic organ prolapse. Correct.
Falling twice.
After birth? After delivering,
like
or
at an old age, she's older,
it
so
does.
she's had it topped
Mm-hmm.
twice. Does that mean her pelvic floor is
Right.
weak.
So we would say weak, and we would say that like like the diapers and all those things are kind of the band-aids. So they probably work in some capacity. Surgery will work in some capacity, but if you don't actually work on that muscle, it's not going to get better. So yes, that's pelvic or organ prolapse, and that's pretty common. Yeah.
So I would love to explain these exercises to my mom, who's 76.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any way we could get?
This is recorded,
Okay.
so I'll be happy to send you guys the link to the Zoom recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it would be great for you guys to, because you're not gonna remember all of this. There's so
Right.
much information
Yeah.
thrown at you this weekend. So we have the Zoom recording and we can just send it to everyone who wants
Yeah.
it.
And if for whatever reason, like the exercises aren't clear, I'm happy to just record them again. So
Yes.
no problem.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else?
I was just gonna say though, from a surgical perspective, because that's what I do. I mean, there is definitely pelvic floor, but there is sometimes like the vagina is a connective tissue too, and yes, the pelvic floor holds it up. But some people do develop like almost like a herniation in the vaginal wall, which can sometimes only be fixed surgically.
Yes.
So
Yes.
multifaceted. You know?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. It is really hard to give a blanket answer, and thank you for clarifying that. Because sometimes, you do need to get the surgery. And
I mean, pelvic floor, I send people pelvic floor therapy all the time for both, vaginal pain,
Yeah.
which is one of the more common reasons, but also, for just urinary incontinence.
Yeah.
Which comes up all the time.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, it's okay, it's normal. They say that all the time. Like, I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be. Like, I know you've been dealing with this forever, but it doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, the first time I learned this information, I was like, wait, old people aren't supposed to go to the bathroom in their pants? Like, are you serious? Like, I thought that was so normal. And she's like,
From
no.
diapers to diapers.
Yeah, I was like, you wear diapers, right? So she's like, no. No. And then the moment I started asking kind of questions, I told my clients I went to this and I started asking them some questions, and they're like, oh yeah, my girlfriends and I always joke about how we pee all the time in class together. Seriously? And like, if you don't ask the questions, you never know.
Yeah.
So
Like my girlfriend always says, Mindy, before, I cough and then I pee, I cough and then I pee when she's
Yeah.
sick. all
So
the
now you
time.
guys know that's not normal. Fix it.
And
Fix
it's
it.
kind of like going to, like, you say my knee hurts, and you go to an orthopedic, and they're like, we're gonna do surgery.
Yeah,
I mean,
they want to
it's
fix
like,
the
there
problem,
are
but
some
not the
things that
cause.
need to be surgically corrected, but there, most of the things, I mean, a lot of things from an orthopedic standpoint and from a GYN standpoint, a lot of these things are fixed.
Mhm.
So this is just kind of, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, so I would just be cautious of any doctor that's like, oh, we're gonna.
Yeah, surgically right away. Yeah.
Just, and that's something funny. A friend of mine was like, when New Kids on the Block came back to concert, right? So we saw them, we were like little. She was like, oh my God. So I saw New Kids on the Block when I was like 12 and I peed because I was so excited. She goes, then I saw them again when I was 30 and I peed. I jumped up and down.
that's really funny. So, good note to end on.
Yeah. So you guys, hopefully you've learned something. My whole goal with Strong Camp was for you guys to learn some things to take away. So hopefully this was one of them. This was one of the talks I was looking forward to giving with Marissa, because it's just so important. It affects almost everybody here. And if it doesn't affect you, it affects someone that you know or love.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can help them with that.
And can happen in men too.
Yes, men too. Men have a pelvic floor.
They have a pelvic floor.
What
I
were you
talked
gonna-
about the girl in my class that came up to me, what kind of exercises can I do to keep from peeing in my pants? And I was like, fortunately, I've never had that happen. So I was just like deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
looking
Well, now you
back.
know. Now you know. You can help her.
Why are you asking me?
Yeah. Because she probably thinks it's normal. So.
Yeah.
All right. So
Thanks, guys.
we're gonna let Al come in. We're gonna hand the mic to him. So thanks you guys for participating.
Thank you.
If you guys don't mind throwing those balls back in the sack. Just I don't know how else to say this nicely. Yes, please. And then you will need your shoes on because you're going outside, but Al's gonna come in here first. So I'm gonna tell him we're ready for him. Maybe. Yeah, the bands, can you grab that basket, Alexa, Alexis?